and our guest speaker. Thank you.
All right. I am happy to introduce Dr. Joe Lowder. He serves as the Dean of Economic and Community Service at ICC. Dr. Lowder is originally from Fulton and is very happy to be back home after stints in higher education at Southeastern, including Southeastern U.S., including Mississippi State, Mississippi University for Women, College of William and Mary, and Florida State University. Dr. Lowder has consulted for various business, industry, and organizations in the area of leadership, organizational change management, communication, poverty and education, community development, and entrepreneurship. So we are very excited to have Dr. Lowder, and I will turn it over to you, sir.
Thanks, Robbie. Appreciate that. You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Supposed to have a PowerPoint go with this. Did I?
Yep. Give me just a second.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Did I hear right that I'm following Mike Leach? Is that what's happening today? So your last speaker?
We've had District Governor Ogu since him, but pretty recently.
Man, that's gonna be hard. That's gonna be a hard act to follow. Yeah. Well, thank y'all for having me. You guys do so much for our area, and we appreciate it. There's so many people that benefit from what all you do, and thanks for giving your time, and thanks for giving me some time today to talk about a little bit about what's going on at ICC. I'm going to talk today about something we don't talk about very much in education. We spend a lot of time talking about K-12 and a lot of time talking about college. Well, I'm going to present to you an alternative solution for some of the things that I think we struggle with in Mississippi, and that's short-term credentials, short-term classes. So my responsibility here at Itawamba Community College, I'm at the Belden campus, we do short-term non-credit classes. So we also have the long-term credit classes here that link them up, but short-term non-credit is kind of what we focus on. You might hear some people throughout the state calling it workforce classes. We can go to the next slide. This is what we offer here. Some of these are brand new. Business office to human resource assistant, commercial truck driving, which by the way, you can walk in jobless, you can walk out making $40,000, $50,000 in a month with a truck driving certification. It's one of the quickest things we have to kind of a middle-class income. Emergency medical technician, construction, industrial maintenance, which is a very hot thing in our area due to all the manufacturing, pharmacy, phlebotomy, certified nursing assistant, medical office, general manufacturing, welding, quality improvement. All of these are short-term. They're average around $500 to attend. A lot of them you can do in a couple of months. None of them are longer than a semester. Most of them are very flexible at night. We even have some Saturday classes. This is built for the working people. So I'm gonna come back to this, but I wanted you to see kind of what I meant. These are the classes, the short-term classes we have here at ICC. So next slide, please. There's some really, really good benefits to these kind of forgotten classes. High school students actually can earn some of these credentials I'm talking about. You can become a CNA in high school. And actually any high school student, every high school group I talk to now, when I have them raise their hand, if you're interested in healthcare, I say all of you should sign up for CNA class. It's very short term and won't take long, and it'll help you realize if you really want to be in healthcare. It actually gets you points. Our nursing school is hard to get in. It gets you points towards getting into nursing school. So our high school students can actually get some of these credentials. That's why things like the Lee County Career Technical Center that they're trying to do right now are really, really important. One of the low-hanging fruit is to get high school students involved with short-term classes. These short-term classes, through a Georgetown study, show 10 to 20% higher than median high school diploma earners. They are very strong links to immediate gainful employment. Even if they don't do what they get in the certification in, it looks better on their resume. For example, someone takes a CPR class, it looks better, it makes them more employable. So the study shows that they can get their job quicker. Studies also show that it is an on-ramp to a college degree. So we have people walking here every day that, they're a high school dropout, they're here to get their GED, and that GED is their first thing they've ever kind of been successful with. And that one bit of success can lead them on to the next thing, which we hope is college or a short-term credential. Then that can lead them on to the next thing. So 2 out of 3 certificate holders with college degrees completed their certificate first. So what that means is a lot of people who are getting certificates, this is a stepping stone for them. It's their first chance of success for them to go accomplish something a little harder the next time. Also, most of our short-term classes link to a college degree. So if you come in and take some like manufacturing basic skills and you pass that with us, we go help you get a job. You can actually transfer that into a college program, a bunch of different programs that we have here, and it makes the time you get a college degree even shorter. Like I said, the next point, all of these are short, less than a semester. Most of them are less than a month, less than a couple months. So the short time frame is cost effective, and it also is flexible for them, for people who are employed. That's the biggest thing. There are a lot of people who are employed making less than $10 an hour, and they can't just stop doing that and come to college. They still need to have an income coming in. We try to schedule these classes where they can come at night and come weekends. They can come different times where they can also hold down their job. So those are the benefits of short-term classes and credentials. So Mississippi, we have some issues. You guys know we rank at the bottom of a lot of things, but these 3 things are employment obstacles. I'm going to go over each one in a little more detail. The middle skills gap, which we fight every day here at ICC, the low workforce participation rate, and then the low degree attainment that we have here in Mississippi. Go to the next slide. So the first one was skills gap. What is the skills gap? It's the overall disparity between what employers are looking for, important jobs, and skill sets that today the workforce possesses. Due to retirements, automation, and just a general bad perception of some of these jobs, there's a big skills gap. Next slide is going to show some data on that. This is actually Mississippi's on the middle skills gap. You may have to move around I'm having to slide around the people's the viewpoint here so you can see these. Mississippi's forgotten middle. So in 2015, 58% of our jobs were this middle skill jobs. What does middle skill mean? It means not a 4-year degree. You don't have to require a 4-year degree, but you need more than a high school degree. Something in the middle, a credential, a certification, an associate degree, something not quite a bachelor's, but more than a high school diploma. 58% of our jobs here fell into that. Demand through 2022 stays at 57%. And then you look at the jobs and workers there at the bottom, the bar graph. We have by far more middle skill jobs than we have workers. Sorry about that. I had to mute that. So this is an issue we have in Mississippi. The second obstacle that we have to overcome. Next slide, please. The next obstacle that you probably heard about, you probably heard some legislators talk about it, is the workforce participation rate. We're not last. Luckily, West Virginia is last. We're number 50. They count 51, I think, with DC on here. West Virginia comes in last. We're at 56%. What that means is 56% of our available workforce is actually actively participating in the workforce. Now that takes out students, that takes out anyone over 64 and retirees, and we don't have enough people going and trying to get jobs. Next slide, please. And then lastly, the most important obstacle is our degree attainment. This hurts us a lot when we're trying to recruit industry to come here. 48th in high school diploma attainment percentage, 46 in associate degree, and we are dead last in bachelor degree attainment, 51st. Only 21.3% of our population in Mississippi has a bachelor's degree. Now, Governor Bryant knew this. He had heard it, and he started a program last year called Complete to Compete, C2C. And he actually got a pool of money, I think it was $1.5 million, and they were trying to get people degrees in reverse. If you haven't heard about this, there's a Compete to Complete website. We haven't heard if it's going to be renewed or not, but let's just say someone goes to Mississippi State or Ole Miss for 2 years, but they drop out and don't complete, which is about half the people that go. They don't complete and get a 4-year degree. this Compete to Complete program was going to pay for you to take 1 or 2 classes and retroactively transfer those to community college and help you get at least an associate's degree so we can get that associate degree number up. This is really, really important when we're recruiting industry. Next slide, please. So I think I've convinced you all. I think I see at least 5 or 6 of you nodding your heads and say, yeah, these are some obstacles. These are some issues we have in Mississippi. And maybe short-term credentials is an easy and quickest way for us to do this. But here's the challenges. Here's where we need your help as engaged citizens to help spread the word for us. The reason you don't hear about these things very often is because there is no state or federal aid outside of high school. High school, there is some aid for people to get credentials in the career and technical, what you may have termed VOTEC before. But for us, there is no funding model for this. There's no Pell Grant, there's nothing. So there's no funding model. We have to make it work as kind of proprietarily as a college. There's no supportive services. So there's a ton of barriers. For someone who's making minimum wage and can't leave it, even that job to come to class, they don't have childcare, they don't have transportation. There's no money for administration or case management. ICC, Dr. Allen here, our president, we talked him into paying for a position. He's actually joined us on this call, Josh Gamble. We actually are one of the few colleges in the state that has what we call pathways or short-term credential navigator. And so he helps people who walk in get these short-term credentials, but that is not normal. That is out of the norm for most colleges to have that. There's no money for supplies. Some people cannot afford a welding helmet to go in a welding class. Someone cannot afford a stethoscope, to go to an LM licensed nurse LPN class. And then we were lucky a few years ago to get a federal grant to help people get off SNAP benefits. And we got money to experiment and see if we had money to take away barriers, what all they would need. And the list of things we paid for that you wouldn't think, people are one flat tire away from changing their life. They would come to class for a few days, get really excited about it, and that flat tire would keep them. Well, this SNAP grant paid for that. We got their flat tire fixed. We got people driver licenses that were suspended. We paid and reinstated their driver's license. Large percentage of people we worked with didn't have a valid driver's license. We paid for taxis. We bought bicycles. People would ride their bike to class. We bought a rain suit so people could drive to work in the class. So we got a snapshot, a 2-year snapshot with this grant to see how hard it was for people with a low socioeconomic status making minimum wage to make their lives better, how hard it was for them to come. One little thing, an eyeglass. We paid for someone that needed glasses so they could take their driver's test. Little things like that maybe some of us take for granted that we can get accomplished. We're keeping them away from getting a better job and taking a better class to get them there. Next slide, please. So if we want to change this, I appreciate you inviting me today because no one talks about these kind of short-term class credentials. We got to change the narrative, and we got to change the narrative starting when they're younger. And I think we're doing that a little bit. We've got Create has hired the career coaches with the Total Wellspring Project. They're talking about these middle skilled jobs a lot more than most students have. We've got the Career Expo now by Create through the Wellspring Fund, which is really helping. But we've got to convince high school students that, just because you take one of these classes, that doesn't mean that's what you're going to be doing for a while. Today, the narrative is you build skill upon skill and you stack them. You learn a little more and a little more into your sector and industry you want to be a part in. And we need to start having that conversation at a young age. We need to let people know that this short term are bite-sized portions. They can achieve skills and keep building and moving up the ladder all the way to college, master's, even doctorate degree if they want to. And lastly, the narrative's got to change that we don't need college for all. The numbers have spiked and just started going down the last few years of the amount of people in the last 20 years that are going to college are astronomical. But we need at least a post-secondary credentials so even for those dropouts, you have to have something. At least have an associate's degree, at least have a certification in something. We've got to change the narrative about this. Next slide. So I want to give you an example. This is 2 students that I've worked with. I actually used to work at the College of William and Mary in Virginia. very liberal arts, very broad-based education. Sean right here is a real person. Sean studied, I definitely think it was something medieval history or literature or something like that. It was a very broad liberal arts degree. Sean, because he went to a pretty prestigious school, got a job in DC, was working for a think tank, and actually he got a job, but he realized for his next move, he had to get more honed in specific skills. And he started taking a lot of classes on his own to get certifications for digital literacy. So things like CSS and Python language and app development. And after his 4-year degree is when he got his specific skills that have got him into a very successful career now. But he paid a lot of money up front to get that degree from William & Mary. Tom over here is a student who actually came when he was 15 years old to one of our summer camps we have here with electrical technology. He wanted to be an engineer, but he had a single mom. He didn't know how he was going to pay for it. He said, I don't know how I'm going to get to go to Mississippi State. So we said, well, why don't you start here with us? As a matter of fact, ICC is free for a 2-year degree. You can come to a career technical program. He came to our electrical technology program, didn't have to pay a dime. He actually got a job, an internship at Cooper Tire. He started working there. He worked there for 4 or 5 years, saved up a lot of money, had no debt, and actually transferred to Mississippi State, and now is an electrical engineer and works, I think it's at one of those places down in Columbus, PACCAR, diesel engines. And, you know, he's making almost $100,000, and he's 25 years old and has more money in savings than most people we know. So he did it a different way. He went specialized with a technical certificate and then his technical associate degree before he went and got that 4-year bachelor's engineering degree. And either one of them works. We're just trying to change the narrative that there's different ways to do things. You can start more narrow, more skill set, specialized, and broaden yourself as you grow, or you can start wide with a bachelor's degree and get more specialized skills as you go. But either way, you got to have specialized credentials and skills. Next slide, please. So you're probably saying, okay, what does this have to do with me? Well, you guys are very influential in your communities. You help a lot of people. And this is a program. If someone calls up and says, I want to help this person, these are the type of programs I refer them to. And we get that call from ministers all the time, from people out in the community said, how do I help this person? We say, get them in a short-term program. Let's start. I'm going to have a case manager with them. We're going to help. We're going to work on their resume. Just getting them into one of these programs is where you start. So please spread the word, refer students. All of this information is on our websites. You can sponsor a student if you'd like to pay their tuition or buy their welding helmet. We would appreciate that. We actually are setting up a short-term scholarship program that'll be all privately funded. We're about to start that at ICC. People can donate to that. It'll be one of the first of its kind in the state. And then lobby state and local officials, let them know this is an issue, that, hey, we have people out there that are working, making minimum wage, that could be working in better jobs to help them and help their families and their communities. Let's put some attention to this. And I have a positive to share today. We just got the contract signed today. Some of the CARES Act money from House Bill 1795 is going to go specifically to this. So we're working out the details, but if someone has been furloughed, displaced, if they are underemployed, making a minimum wage, or if they're unemployed, for the first time this semester, from starting this week till December, we have to spend it by December. If anyone fits those categories, they will get this for free. Tuition will be free this semester for the first time because of those CARES Act funds. We also have 2 partnerships. Second Chance Mississippi donates $50,000 a year toward this cause, and they help fund people who are getting their GED and trying to get them into some of these short-term programs because they know that's how they can get them a life-sustaining wage for their families. And then 3 Rivers through MDHS has a new program that we partner with them on, and they will also pay for people to do truck driving and some of those things too. The thing is we have no state, no federal. It's patchwork, whatever grant we can get year to year, it changes. Second Chance has been with us 2 or 3 years now. 3 Rivers now has been 1 year. So every year it changes. So we're trying to find some stability with this new scholarship program. Next slide, please. We've also moved online. So if you know someone, this is what we worked on while we were off for COVID and working from home. We put some of our classes online. This is for your company. If your company needs a CPR class or forklift or A lot of these are safety classes. You can actually take them online right now. We've reduced the cost. One of the best ones from someone looking for a job is the forklift operator. They can take the forklift test here, then come to our Belton Center for a few hours and do the driving test and be certified to operate a forklift. So this is a new thing that we just got done during the COVID phase where they can take online. And then the last slide. I just want to put this up there. This is Josh Gamble's contact. If you want to write this down, he's the best person. If you have someone who needs help and needs to start somewhere, he's our best contact at ICC. He will reach out. He will try to pull them in these classes. He will find what grant program they fit into based on their circumstance. He will navigate them. He'll give them a resume, help them on interview, preparing for that. And then the note on the right is CARES Act funds for fall. This fall, there has never been a better time for people to come back and take something to make themselves, be able to get a better job. And so I just wanted to put this slide up there for y'all so you can see the programs again. And I appreciate y'all having me today. This is the message I wanted to share, and I hope we start sharing this all around North Mississippi, because we could actually change some of those 3 issues that we have in Mississippi: the low attainment rate of education, the skills gap, and the workforce participation rate. Let's get people having good jobs in Mississippi. It's going to make Mississippi a better place. Do y'all have any questions for me? I think we have a Q&A, right?
Yes. Hey, Dr. Lowder, how many students do y'all have at ICC currently, and has that gone up or down over the last 3 or 4 years?
Are you asking me for like our traditional classes, like freshmen and sophomore students?
Yeah.
Are you asking for these?
Traditional, nighttime, just however you want to answer it. I'm just curious what enrollment is and how it's moved.
So our enrollment has ticked down for the traditional freshman, sophomore that lives on our campus, in Fulton and lives in the residence halls. It goes down. It's gone down 2 or 3% a year. We're right around. I think we're right under 5,000 traditional students. Now I want to make a different connection here, though. Most of the students we get that go live on the Fulton campus are transferring to State and Ole Miss. 70–80% have plans. They don't plan to even get a degree from ICC. They plan to transfer on. So now our career and technical students, the ones that are studying welding, studying HVAC, studying nursing, that enrollment is up. It has gone up 3 or 4% every year. So it's kind of gone like this. And that makes sense because in a good economy, which we had until COVID, with unemployment was so high, you could walk anywhere you want to get a job. Less people come to school. Using a bad economy, more people come to school. But what I'm talking about today does not count on those 5,000 enrollment statistics. This is people walk in, they take a class for a month, and they're gone. So that's a whole different set of enrollment kind of numbers and measures that we keep from the academic credit side of the college.
Trish Strange has a question.
Hi, Trish.
You're muted, Trish.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Joe. This is a wealth of information. I have a nonprofit that is for education. It's to help kids, and it's also to help the parents to get out of poverty. That's our goal, is to lower the poverty rate. However, I'm in Memphis. I'm in Tennessee. So can we direct some of these parents to this website so they can get these certificates, so they can at least get a better job? Or is this strictly for Mississippi?
So, I will tout Dwayne Casey and our colleagues at Northwest Community College. So Northwest has some similar programs. They have a DeSoto Center that they're working on. I think they have one in Olive Branch as well. So they're going to be the ones closest to you. Wherever they come from, we had a homeless couple that was expecting that came to Tupelo from Texas, and they were here in Tupelo for about 3 weeks, but we tried to help them get them in classes. So I don't think it's Mississippi specific, but I don't know what the community colleges, I don't know the setup in Memphis. They do have short-term classes, but I know that like the Memphis Technical Center, most of those are long-term. They're 1 year or longer classes. I'm not sure who in Memphis, probably proprietary for-profit schools that are offering these in Memphis. And when I got here, we only had 4 or 5 short-term non-credit, but we have been ramping up, adding 3 or 4 new programs every year. So it's kind of new for us here in Mississippi as well.
How can we get this going here in the Tennessee area? What would you advise?
Well, I definitely would talk to community colleges. They have some capacity to do it. And then you probably got a couple proprietary schools in the area. Even though they're proprietary, they would happily accept grants. You know, they probably would cut you a deal. Even though they're more expensive than a community college would be, they would cut you a deal. I'm sure with grant funds. That's what I would suggest you doing. Go look at truck driving, see where truck driving is offered anywhere in your area, and that's a good place to start. See where CNA is offered in your area. CNA classes, phlebotomy, farm tech, truck driving, those classes stay full with us. You're welcome. Thanks, Tristan. Good question.
I have a comment. First of all, I'd like to thank Jenny Jones for inviting me to this meeting. This has been a great meeting. And I keep hearing about all the great work going on down in Tupelo. And Dr. Lowder, I really appreciate what you said. And I'm the director of the Rotary Family Initiative and Family and Youth. And we believe that we can help the junior colleges, just like the junior colleges are helping us, like Northwest, we work very closely with up in Holly Springs, for example. But we're trying to get into the prevention of the problem and the early mitigation before a kid starts pre-K. I'm talking about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. If they don't get some help, they're 18 months behind. They don't learn to read 3rd grade level. They have trouble in middle school, and many times trying to cope, they end up in the school prison pipeline. So we are all about what I hear Tupelo's about, and we want to help. So anything we can do to help, you just call on us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mississippi has a similar initiative of Excel by 5. That if the kid, you know, doesn't get, you know, a little bit of, you know, education by 5, they're going to be behind. It's hard to catch them up later once they get to school. So actually, one thing I oversee is what we call the Early Childhood Academy. We have coaches going out to daycares, teaching daycare teachers how to teach, you know, reading and writing from an earlier age. So Mississippi understands that even 5-year-olds is also workforce development.
Right.
Any other questions?
We have one question, if we can share the PowerPoint with those who are on today.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Well, thank you all for having me, and thank you for all the good you do for our communities.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lowder. We appreciate you being here very much. This is a critical program, provides critical, needed opportunities, jobs, even just the ability to earn a decent living are so important to making Mississippi better and improving people's lives. So thank you very much. This was fabulous. Really appreciate it.